Welcome back, guys, and what we're going to be looking at today is going back over the equation of the line. So our tutorial today is equation of the line 2. We should have watched our tutorial from yesterday, which was equation of the line 1. Now, just to go over some of the key points from tutorial 1, we have two formula when it comes to calculating the equation of a line, which you can see here on page 18 in our log tables. We have y minus y1 equals m by x minus x1. And we have y is equal to mx plus c. Now, when using the equation of the line, we're going to use both of those formulas. When we use y is equal to mx plus c, it's usually because we've been given the equation of a line. And when we're given the equation of the line, if we rearrange it so that y is by itself, we can use it to find the slope, which is m, the number in front of the x value, or another word for slope is gradient, and we can use it to find the y-intercept, which is 0c. Now, just to remind you, when you have a graph with an x and a y-axis, the point where it crosses the y-axis is called its y-intercept. And when it crosses the y-axis, we know that x is equal to 0, which is why 0 is our first coordinate for x, and c, or the value for y here, is our second coordinate. When a line crosses the x-axis, we know that y is equal to 0, which is why our coordinate here has a y value of 0. And whatever this value is here would be our coordinate for x. Now, the same way here, we have a second formula, which we know we use to find the equation of a line. Y minus y1 is equal to m by x minus x1, where again, m is our slope or our gradient, and we also need a point x1, y1. So take a minute, go back through that, go back over example 1 and example 2 from the tutorial 1, and then we're going to look at example 3 and example 4, which are a little bit trickier than the ones from the last tutorial. Now, example 3 is going to be the first one we look at here today, guys. And example 3 says find the value of k if the lines 2k plus ky plus 5 equals 2x plus ky plus 5 equals 0, and k plus 6 by x plus 2y minus 9 equals 0 are perpendicular to each other. Well, we know that if we have two lines, and I'm going to call him line 1 and him line 2, that if they're perpendicular to each other, if line 1 is perpendicular to line 2, that means the first slope times the second slope is equal to minus 1. That's my rule about perpendicular. So that's what indicates to me that I need to find the slope of both of these lines. So the first one I'm going to look at here is going to be line 1. So line 1, they tell me, is 2x plus ky plus 5 is equal to 0. And to be able to find the slope, I'm going to use my formula, y is equal to mx plus c. Because if I get y by itself, that means that whatever value is left in front of x will be my slope, or my m1. So I'm going to start by bringing everything without a y to the other side, which means I get ky is equal to minus 2x minus 5. To get y fully by itself, I'm going to divide everything by k. So I'm going to divide each term by k. They cancel on the left hand side to leave me with y is equal to minus 2 over kx minus 5 over k. Which means now I can say, therefore, m1 is equal to minus 2 over k. Okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing for line 2. So I'm going to take my equation for line 2, which they've told me is k plus 6 by x plus 2y minus 9 is equal to 0. And again, everything without a y, I'm going to move to the other side. So I now have 2y is equal to minus k plus 6 x plus 9. I leave the minus on the outside because it applies to the k and it applies to the 6. So now to get y fully by itself, I'm going to divide everything here by 2. So I'm going to divide each term by 2. They cancel on the left hand side. And what I get is y is equal to minus k and minus 6 all over 2 x plus 9 over 2. Which means therefore my second slope is the value that's in front of the x, which is minus k minus 6 over 2. Now I know again that my first slope times my second slope is equal to minus 1 because they're perpendicular. But we do have another rule that you'll remember I said a lot in the junior cert, which is flip it and change the sign. So what that means is if I have one slope and I flip it and change the sign, it will be equal to my perpendicular slope. So personally, this one is a bit simpler. So I'm going to take this one, flip it and change the sign, which means my perpendicular m here would be k over 2. It was a minus, so now the whole fraction is a plus. And if that's my perpendicular slope, and I know that it's perpendicular to this guy, I now can say that this fraction is equal to this fraction. So moving over here, I'm going to now say, therefore, k over 2 is equal to minus k minus 6 all over 2. So the first thing I'm going to do here is multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the fraction. So it's actually going to cancel on both sides, which makes it quite nice. So we get k equals minus k minus 6. I'm going to bring my k over, so he's going to become a plus. K and k gives me 2k is equal to minus 6. And my last thing I'm going to do here is divide both sides by 2. So now we have k is equal to minus 3, which is what it asked me to find is my value of k. Okay? Take a minute, go back over this one, add it into our notes, and then we're going to move on to example 4. Now, example 4 is definitely a little bit trickier. Okay? And this is where we have to use our problem solving skills, guys. And the number one thing I use with my problem solving skills is a diagram. So as I read this question, I'm going to start sketching a diagram to help me. So it says, find the equations. So straight away, I'm going to have more than one answer to this question. Of the line L through the point 4, 2, so that the area of the triangle formed by L and the positive x and y axes is 25 square units. So straight away, I know I need to sketch a coordinate grid, my Cartesian grid. Okay? I know I'm going to need the positive x and y axis, so that's why I'm focusing on these two. They're telling me that the line L is going to form a triangle with the positive x and y axis, and that at some point it's going to go through the point 4, 2. I can see that this triangle is going to be a right angle triangle. Because of the x and the y axis, we know they meet at a right angle. We have my line L here, and we know that the triangle formed is 25 square units. Now, the next thing I would see here is that the height of the triangle here, h would have to be equal to whatever my y-intercept is here, my y-intercept. Okay, it would have to equal to my y value. The same way here, my x-intercept would have to be the length of the bottom, which usually in the area of a triangle formula, we call the base. So the base would be equal to our x-intercept value. So the first thing I'm going to try and do here is try and get my x and my y-intercept. So I don't know the equation of a line, so I'm going to use the formula y minus y1 is equal to m by x minus x1 to try and find some sort of equation of a line. Now I have got x1 and y1 up here. I don't know m, and I don't really have a way to find m. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my equation of a line in terms of m. So that means we have y minus 2 is equal to m by x minus 4, which means I have y minus 2 is equal to mx minus 4m. Okay, because I've just multiplied m by x and m by minus 4. Now usually I would have everything on one side, so I'm going to move it all over, which my x value usually goes first. So I have minus mx plus y plus 4m minus 2 is equal to 0. And this convoluted thing is actually going to be my equation of a line. So now if I want to find my y-intercept, what I need to do to find my y-intercept is let x equal to 0 in this equation of a line. So this is the first thing I'm going to do over here. Okay, should actually leave myself a bit of space. So instead of x here, I'm going to sub in 0. So that means I have minus m by 0 plus y plus 4m minus 2 is equal to 0. So that means the first guy, anything times 0 is just gone. So I have y plus 4m minus 2 is equal to 0. So now if I want to find the y coordinate, that means I'm going to bring everything to the other side. So I have y is equal to minus 4m plus 2. So I can now say that my height over here, my h value, is going to be minus 4m plus 2. Okay, my h value, over here is going to be minus 4m plus 2. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing back over here again to find my x-intercept. To find my x-intercept, we're going to make sure that we have y is equal to 0. So again, I'm going to take my equation here, but instead of y, I'm going to sub in 0. So I have minus mx plus 0 plus 4m minus 2 is equal to 0. So obviously the 0 is gone, and everything without an x, because I'm solving for x, I'm going to move to the other side. So I have minus mx is equal to minus 4m plus 2. My last step here is I need to divide both sides by minus m to get x by itself, which means now I have x, because they cancel, is equal to minus 4m plus 2 over minus m. Okay? Now, that means, going back to my diagram, my base is my x value. So my base here is actually going to be minus 4m plus 2 over minus m. So now I need to focus on the area of a triangle. And I know that my formula for the area of a triangle is half the base times the height. Okay? Which means they've told me that the area is 25 units squared. So instead of a, I'm going to sub in 25, is equal to half. My base I've just determined is this value. So minus 4m plus 2 all over minus m, times my height, which I've just determined is this value. So now I have an equation where I'm going to be solving for m. I'm going to try and find my value for m. And what I'm going to see here is if I'm going to get two answers, I'm probably going to have two solutions for m. Now guys, this equation is going to take a little bit to solve. So remember, we had step 1, step 2, step 3. We're now on 4, which may go on to the next word. Okay? So let's look at how we're going to solve this here. The first thing I'd do is I'd multiply both sides by 2 and by minus m to try and get those off the bottom. So I'm going to multiply both sides by minus 2m by minus 2m, which will cancel the 2 and the 2 and the minus m and the minus m, which leaves me here with minus 2m by 25 is minus 50m. Okay? Just going to draw a line to separate these down here, is equal to, and what's left on this side is minus 4m plus 2 by minus 4m plus 2, which I can actually see is a perfect square. So now you can split your brackets and multiply, or you can use your perfect square formula, which is a little quicker, which is what I'm going to do. So we'd have 16m squared, minus 4 by 2 is minus 8, by 2 is minus 16m plus 4 would be what I get here now. And what I can see is I'm starting to form a quadratic, which means to solve a quadratic it needs to equal to 0. So I'm going to bring this 50m over and he's going to become a plus, which means now I have 0 is equal to 16m squared, 50m minus 16m plus 34m plus 4. Now the next thing I'd see is I can divide everything here by 2. So I'm going to divide everything by 2 and I get 0 is equal to 8m squared plus 16m plus 2. Now I'm going to need to go onto a new board to solve this quadratic, so stay with me. Okay, so now we have, again, 8m squared plus 16m plus 2 equals 0. And what I can actually see that I can do again is, 34 divided by 2 is not 16, it's 17. Apologies. So we should have 17 here in the centre. So now we have 8m squared plus 17m plus 2. So now I'm going to try and solve it where I need an m in each bracket. I know my only factors of 2 are 2 and 1 because it's a prime number. But I also know my factors of 8 can be 4 times 2, or 8 times 1. And I'm trying to get 17. So if I'm doing this, I need 8 and a 1 here, because 1 by 1 is 1m, 8 by 2 is 16m. So if I made them both a plus, then I would get 17m. So that means I have 8m plus 1 in my first bracket is going to be equal to 0, and m plus 2 in my second bracket is going to be equal to 0. So 8m is equal to minus 1, and m is equal to minus 1 over 8, and here m is equal to minus 2. So now I have my two slopes, which is why I'm going to form two equations of a line. Going right back to step 1, where I have my first equation of a line, I'm now going to substitute in twice for m for my two solutions. Okay, so I'm going to use answer 1 and answer 2. So with answer 1 first, when m is equal to 1 over 8, I'm using my formula, minus mx plus y plus 4 by m minus 2 is equal to 0. So I have minus by minus 1 over 8, x plus y plus 4 by minus 1 over 8 minus 2 is equal to 0. So I have 1 over 8x plus y minus 4 by 1 over 8 is really minus a half, minus 2 is equal to 0. The next thing I do to get rid of the fractions is I'm going to multiply everything by 8. So 1 over 8 by 8 just leaves me with x plus 8y. Minus a half by 8 is minus 4. Minus 2 by 8 is minus 16 is equal to 0. So my first equation of a line as my answer is 8x plus 8y minus 20 is equal to 0. But now I need to do this again for the second slope that I found. So I'm going to go over here now and do it again for m equals 2. So using my formula again, minus mx plus y minus plus 4m minus 2 is equal to 0, and I'm going to sub in minus 2 for m. So I have minus by minus 2x plus y plus 4 by minus 2 by minus 2 is equal to 0. So we get 2x plus y minus 8 minus 2 is equal to 0. So we get 2x plus y minus 10 is equal to 0. So now I have my second equation of a line here that would satisfy the conditions given me in the question. Now there was a lot in that question, guys, so take a minute, go back through it, read through it step by step, and then we're going to start working through it together. Okay? Thanks, guys.